Welcome back to askreddit Discover channel. What was your scariest something's not right moment? I was walking to school in middle school and this lady with a car pulled over next to me and called me Linda. That's not my name, but was close enough. I looked up. She apologized and explained she thought I was her grandkid. Then she offered me a ride to school. Except that I was already standing on the school grounds. I had a half-block walk before I needed to turn to walk into the building. When I said no, she tried to demand I get into the car. I said no thanks and took off running. It occurred to me much later that she probably had no intention of dropping me off at school. A very similar thing happened to me. Guy stopped and offered me a ride. I got in the car because he reminded me of somebody I knew, but I wasn't sure who. It was a small town, so everybody kinda knew each other. Turns out he wasn't who I thought and I also wasn't who he thought. He only offered the ride because he mistook me for his nephew. We were both tall, skinny, and curly blonde hair. I actually knew the kid. Funny stuff. I was 14 at the time, and even though things turned out alright, I knew I fecked up the moment I realized he was actually a stranger. That sounds like something my grandma would do. She's crazy as hell and we took away her license because dementia is pretty shitty even for bystanders. I wonder if she just tries a random name, because if she does it enough, she'll get it right, then she can convince the kid to get into her car. I was working on a radio system in the local water tower of a pretty remote outback town. It was a beautiful late spring day in October when I got there, but after about 2 hours the bird noises stopped, the breeze stopped. I took my equipment out of standby and flagged it as live test because I had the weirdest feeling I didn't have time to fully test it and went outside to sit in the car. About 90 seconds later there was a direct lightning strike on the tower I'd just left. It was the highest point in 200 kilometers. It was literally the loudest thing I'd ever heard. Ever. I remember reading somewhere that you can feel the static in the air before a lightning strike. Do you recall feeling your hairs stand? Holy shit, that must have been terrifying. Dad always told me to get to somewhere grounded and safe if the birds suddenly go quiet. This post's comment section is just solidifying his wise words. Late at night, I was sitting in my car waiting for my boyfriend to finish his shift. A guy walks past and we make eye contact. I feel the sense of danger but figure I'm overreacting. A few minutes pass and the fear won't go away. I finally decide to move my car away from the edge of the parking lot to the front of the restaurant in the customer parking area. I start up my car and just as I'm putting it into drive, the guy rushes out from behind and tries to yank open my door, pulling on it really hard. I hit the gas and he trails me for a second, then hits my window with a rock. I keep going and he throws the rock at me, then runs away. I was shaking so badly I could barely steer. Pretty sure he was sneaking up on me just as I decided to start my engine. Wow. That was a really close call. It's amazing how we can sense that something isn't right. This is why they taught us in driver's ed that the first thing you should do when getting inside your car is lock the doors and start the engine. Then fix your seat, mirrors, music, etc. Having the doors locked and the engine running gives you a few more seconds to react and escape if someone attempts to hijack you. Granted, your situation was a little different since you were waiting for someone and couldn't feasibly keep the engine running the whole time, but it's definitely something to keep in mind for the future. I'm glad you're okay. What's crazy is that if he hit your car with the rock as soon as this started, he already had the rock in his hand. Think about that. I planned to visit my dad in the afternoon. Called him in the morning to ask if he needed anything because I was about to go to the store anyway and could easily pick up some things for him. He didn't answer. A little weird for him but not too uncommon. But I had that thought in the back of my head. So I tried again like 30 minutes later. Again, nothing. Neither landline or mobile. So I decided to drive over there early and check. Can't really explain it, but I just knew that something had happened. Found him dead in his house. He fell and cracked his head open. To this day I don't actually know what was worse, finding him like this or the 30-minute-long drive where the feeling grew that I was going to walk into something like that. Similar story with my mom. She died in her sleep at least, but when she didn't answer within the hour about a question regarding babysitting my daughter, I knew she was at best in a bad way. Luckily, since she had her doors locked and her Charlie bar down, I couldn't get in, and it was the police and firefighters who had to tell me. I'm glad I didn't see her body. That drive is weird. Not too similar, but the same eerie feeling with my dad. All day felt weird, wrong. My mother even texted me while I was at work saying something felt bad. My sister texted my mom earlier saying something was odd. A few hours later, my mom found my dad dead. He died in his sleep from heart issues. Coincidentally, the cat threw up on my mom's stuff, which she never does, we think, at the time he actually passed. The way the timeline plays out. It wasn't me that noticed something's not right. Once a woman came up to me on a train that I had gotten on and said, "I just wanted you to know that man there is following you," and he was. He followed me, in a quiet way, when I changed trains, and I ended up asking a cop to walk me home. It was one of the creepiest experiences of my life. In hindsight, I shouldn't even have gone home. I'm pretty sure he stopped following me when I spoke with the police officer. But still. So for the future, if someone is following, in a car or otherwise, go straight to a police station. You can of course find ways to prove they are following you, taking 3 turns to go around the block, etc., but the best you can do is get some proof of who it is. Covered selfie with them in it or license plate. You can also go to a place where you know there are surveillance cameras beforehand, then leave. However, all these steps won't guarantee your safety like going to the cops, so you have to trust your gut and make a judgment call.